Hi, everyone. It's Don from the MS Guide. You'll see a familiar face here because I can no longer call Rebecca a guest, more of a co-collaborator, which I think is pretty awesome. So
me too.
Say hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
There you go.
I had to.
Yeah, I know. It's adult humor here. Anyhow, this is the next installment in answering viewers' questions. So Rebecca and I tackled them from Candice in Vegas last time. And now these questions, I've got two, and they're from B in London. And B is, I spoke to her. She's a fairly young woman, relatively newly down the path. She's had MS for a little bit, but she's not newly diagnosed, but she's not a grizzled veteran. And she asked two questions. But before I start with the questions, I'd just like to say to you guys, thank you very much. I have now hit 700 subscribers. Well, more we probably, they're subscribing because of Rebecca, but I'm super thrilled about that because it's what tells the YouTube algorithms that this is the content and it puts it in front of people. So I don't get paid. I'd need at least 1,000 and that's going to be months away. So in the meantime, please subscribe. You know the game. Well, do it. And just subscribe, and that would make me really, really happy. All the details are in the description of the video if you want to know more, but click subscribe. That'd be awesome. Anyway, we're going to start the video now. So Rebecca, let me read you B's questions. Okay.
Okay, do it.
Parts, and they're ones I think shared by many, many people, and me too, frankly. So B says, I know I'd find it really useful around how to communicate with healthcare professionals, especially if you're not getting what you need. So that's number one. Number two is, it's been so eye-opening learning that your healthcare team doesn't always have your absolute best interest in mind. So yeah, I start with a couple of caveats before we get into it. We're not anything other than two people that have had MS for quite a long time now, 28 years on my part and less time.
17 on mine.
There you go. So what we're going to share with you is just our opinions, and that's it. You know, we're not perfect. We're not expecting you to take this as like the absolute direct advice, and there's only one way. I've given you guys a disclaimer. I'm pretty sure Rebecca feels the same about that.
Totally.
If I was going to tell you you must do it thing, I'd preface it with that. But I just want to start, and I'm going to start with the second question first, if I can. And that is, your healthcare team doesn't always have your absolute best interests at heart. I think if you set anybody down who treated patients, they would be a bit surprised at that, because I think individually people do certainly think that they have your best interests at heart. But I think what B means, and I would completely agree with her, is it doesn't always feel like it, because as soon as you get into a system, in our case, the NHS, or in your case, you know, your healthcare and your insurance and stuff, bureaucracy can hobble the, I was going to say cripple, but I mean hobble the best intention, you know, and, you know, you just throw, I call it throwing forms at things, you know. So yeah, it might not feel like it, but also it may differ from what you think. So that's a different thing to unpack, but I don't think there's any malice in it. I just think that it's misunderstanding at best, but we'll come back to that question. But I just wanted to say that because
and I would love to say something about that question
on,
too, which is, and we'll probably talk more about this when we talk about the first question, but if you really feel that your doctor is not the right fit for you for whatever reason, if you are able, and I realize it could be a luxury because if you live in certain areas, it may not be possible depending on your insurance situation, all kinds of things. But if you can switch doctors, for heaven's sake, switch doctors. It can make a world of difference.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK too, I mean, patient choice. And But that's going to bring me back to the first question, in fact, because I think you're right. Maybe it's because I've had MS for so long. Maybe it's because one of my old jobs was working for the pharmaceutical industry 25 years ago, and I had to be a drug rep and see doctors. And frankly, they petrified me because these were the people that were always on a pedestal. And my view now on doctors is that they are human beings like you and me. They happen to have studied certain topics at school for a lot longer than you and me, probably. So it's and then they've also had the interacting with patients. It does not make them a good or a bad person just having a medical degree. A medical degree means you know a ton about something. And so it's back to the human element. I am not going to get into medical stuff or drug stuff. It's human beings. And whether it's your doctor, and this is what we're talking about in this case, and you must have experienced this, I have occasionally met people where within about 3 seconds, I've thought, I really don't like this person. And it's nothing to do with anything. And I'm sure they've felt that way about me. So, but
no.
I've got you on for support, Rebecca, not trying to mind me, but but you see what I mean, change doctor. I don't have to sit and chat to somebody I don't like, but yes, MS forces you to be with a neurologist, but there's more than one neurologist out there. And there may be the most incredibly difficult, rare cases where you don't have an option, but most of the time you do. And also, I can't imagine the doctor, if you don't like each other, it's going to be just as hard for them, frankly, as professional as they're trying to be. Don't tell me there's not some patients that doctors don't loathe, and other patients that they like seeing. I mean, I've got a friend who's got a PhD, something to do with seabirds. And it turns out that their neurologist is really into nature. So they spend half their appointment with their doctor. Can we talk about me and not albatross? So it can go down that way. I've had a long chat with one of my neuros over the years about cycling, and and the nurse came in and she went, "Are you two still talking about bicycles? For God's sake." And she said, "You've got another 10 minutes." I said, "All right, okay." So,
Well, and the thing is, although we can waste, or not waste, but expend huge portions of our very precious time with doctors chatting about human things, which is lovely. So if you possibly can find a doctor that you might waste 15 minutes of your precious time together talking about a shared interest, or they've taken an interest in your children, or vice versa, whatever the thing is, anytime you can build rapport with somebody who, to a certain degree, holds your future in their hands along with you, it's a double handhold. That's a good thing, because someday down the line, you're going to have a fecal incontinence incident, or a sexual issue, or any number of things we don't like to talk to people about. And if the person you're faced with to help you solve that problem together is somebody you have a good rapport with, it's going to be easier to do that communication.
you make me laugh, Rebecca. I was at a neurology meeting last night. I won't bore you with the details, but I sat down beside a doctor who's very famous for doing stem cells and stuff. And I said, "So what do you do when you're not being a neurologist?" And he said, "I love riding motorbikes," which I used to do a lot of. And all of a sudden we had a 10-minute chat about the different motorbikes we'd owned. And it's just, it sets it, it's nice. It's, he's not my neuro and it wasn't an appointment, but it was just nice to, imagine being a neurologist and all you talk about all day is neurology. Surely you want to do something else. I think, it's like cycle across the US in the case of one of my old neurologists, or ride motorbikes or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I think the message is they're people too. You're in it for the long term. So yeah, you're not trying to make friends. You don't want to go and have a beer with them afterwards, but you want to have a degree of comfort in the relationship, don't you?
Yeah, that I'm so glad you said comfort, because that's exactly it. As much as, I mean, so much of this experience is uncomfortable, from waking up in the morning with a foot cramp to,
Yeah.
again, fecal incontinence. I can't help myself but go back to that again and again, but
Hmm.
it's dreadful. So like anytime you can have comfort, sweet fancy Moses, do it. Now, a thing that you and I have talked about before, Dom, is sorting out what you need from your doctor. Um, and I
Well,
think
there's
you
sort
had
of pre-visit preparations.
exactly, exactly. So I'm opening the door
Well, especially
for
when
you
you're
to
new,
talk
I'd
about that.
say. I'm annoyingly casual about it now because I've kind of got to the stage, but I always try to think what it's like if you've just been diagnosed, you've had your world turned on its head, and you're
Hmm.
suddenly in this incredibly, relatively frequent contact with the medical profession when you're, let's say, in your mid 20s, early 30s, when you didn't expect to be seeing doctors and nurses quite so much.
All the damn time.
Exactly. So I have it's frightening because I go into the hospital and there's people that I'm not even sure I recognize going, hello. And you're like, oh God, I've been here far too much. But it's you're in it for the long run, like Rebecca said. So yeah, you don't want to sit there and try and have a 20-minute conversation about motorbikes, Moto Guzzi, GSXR, whatever. You need to talk about your stuff. And the way that you do that is you have a list of things, and you're better at this, Rebecca. I'm just preaching something which I'm terrible at, but
Sure.
off you go.
So, a thing I have started doing only recently, and I wish I'd started sooner. So, newly diagnosed folks learn from somebody who has a few regrets, only a few though. Um, Exercise. That's not germane to this topic. I just every time exercise, do it. Uh,
How's that
but
work?
uh, exercising, if I could figure it out, I'd tell you. But anyway, I digress. The more important thing for this particular topic is that it is so helpful if you keep track of your symptoms. You can dictate them into your phone at the end of the night. You can write them in a diary or a journal. You can get a fancy app. The all of the MS drug companies produce one that will track like your mood and your bowel habits. Again, with the bowels, what is wrong with me? And
Is there
fatigue.
anything you want to share? I mean, let's just get this out there because
I'm I'm really doing reasonably okay in that realm right
well,
now, knock
that's
wood.
really
But
good. I think other videos are where you've really let rip on the anyway.
and if you'll pardon the pun,
Yeah.
um, but if you have a record of how you've been doing, you can perhaps start to see patterns, and you can show it to your doctor, and your doctor certainly will see patterns there. And you can review this. I don't know, I'm doing it like you've done it on a calendar, but you can review this record that you've created before you go to the doctor and go, okay, so what has been happening with me? Because, like, in the day to day, it's really obvious.
Hmm.
But I've gone to the doctor and complained about an issue, and the doctor will say, well, how long has this been going on? And I'm like, I have no clue. So,
Yeah.
record keeping, or at least thinking
Yeah. Okay.
about it
So
beforehand.
that's the process side. And
Yeah.
everybody says this, it's always write it all down, get it all. I mean,
Hmm.
essentially, it's you need to feel more comfortable. You're in an interaction with another human being. I was speaking to somebody a few days ago. They manage the patient interactions for a drug company, and they said, "What would you like patients to do?" And I said, "I would like everybody to have assertiveness training. Nothing to do with drugs, nothing to do with MS." But for people, especially the Brits, we're terrible at it. I'm half Canadian, so I always blame it on that. But just there's a difference in asking for what you want and being rude and aggressive. And I
Mhm.
think people conflate this, and being assertive, doctors actually like it. Having a patient who needs to be led through everything, or the doctor's not sure if they're pushing them and doesn't want to push them. But if you turn up with a patient who says, I'd like to do the following, it makes for an easier conversation. So the doctor can either say no, at which point you can
Mhm.
say, fine, can you help me understand why not? And if you're feeling that it's difficult, I just smile sweetly and go, would you mind popping that in the notes that I asked you the question and you declined and why you declined? Which is also should be setting off alarm bells in their head, frankly, saying this person's not
Yeah.
entirely thrilled with this. But you know, and then they should stick to their guns or do it like I want them to do it. But I don't want them to let me poison myself. That's my view. Is I'm looking
Yeah.
to go, no, Shebel, you're an idiot. Shut up. But other than that, it's so much easier. I would like the following, please. You know, and if you go there and you say, well, let's stick to your theme, Rebecca. I'm having continence issues. I would like to be referred to the continence nurses. You know, there's not the doctor going, oh, how much longer do we let them keep crapping themselves until this happens? You know, well, it's you know, the person's gone off. I mean, we're just taking the extreme thing, but it's just, you
Mhm.
know, oh, well, he said, well, could you explain why I can't see the continence nurses? How many times do I have to disgrace myself in public before you're going to let me take the burden? You know, it's one of these, because not all doctors are as patient focused as they think. They have your best interests at heart in the sense that they want to treat you. But I've heard enough things to make me realize that they may not always get it spot on or be able to put themselves as effectively in your shoes. You know,
Yeah.
doctors are not an underpaid profession, so that puts them certainly in a level of ability to live life in a way that not all of us can enjoy. You know,
Well, and I'll just throw a couple of things out there. One thing to always remember is that when you see your doctor, it's probably a one-to-one relationship, but that is not the doctor's life. The doctor has likely hundreds of other patients.
one to
Um,
many for them, one to one for
yes,
you.
one to a shit ton, frankly.
Is that a technical term?
I think
Right.
so. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure a shit ton is metric, so it'll work in the UK.
Oh, but we've just had Brexit, so we're going backwards. So there's a big worry in the UK after Brexit that we're going to go back to decimal currency. But anyway, that's not the topic of this video. So sorry,
No,
Rebecca,
it's
you were
not.
saying.
So so that so the one thing that was one thing is you're not the only patient. So coming prepared, coming as good humored as one can in these circumstances, these will all help you in the long run in your relationship with your doctor. Another thing to think about is if the power dynamic of doctor to patient, as Dom has pointed out in the past when he and I have chatted, you know, it can be very patriarchal. A lot of us, myself included, are diagnosed or ladies diagnosed with MS in our 20s, and we're dealing with a man in his 40s or older.
You know,
So, in addition to like the administrative prep, for lack of a better word,
is
if
there a shit
there
ton of it?
is there is a shit ton of administrative prep. In fact, I used to joke before I was walking with a rollator all the time and having more physical issues. I used to say, you know, the worst thing about MS is the paperwork. And it can get really irritating, and we could do another video about that
That would be
someday.
very, very Americentric because here you just turn up and stuff gets done.
Oh God, if only. If only. Okay, I'll do my own video. I'll
Yeah.
get some Yanks together. We'll chat.
Yeah.
Um, but if there's anything you can do to relax yourself, to pump yourself up, whatever you need before you go in, like if you're a meditator, meditate. If you're a power poser, go in the bathroom, strike your Wonder Woman pose, spin around, do what you want to do. If there is a song that gets you pumped up, play that before you go into the neurologist. Like whatever you need to feel your most like powerful, centered, whatever you need to be in that moment. For God's sake, do it.
Here's the phrase. It's sales. I used to be in sales. However you like
Mhm.
it, you know, don't be, as one doctor said to me, the mood hoover. Fake it till you make it, because you're trying to get the best out of this interaction, and you're not trying to be their friend. Don't forget, it's all about you, and you're trying to get it for you, but you don't want to be whiny and all this kind of stuff, because that's all the doctor remembers is they whined a lot. Having MS is dreadfully upsetting, and talking about it
Mhm.
and being made to reflect on it, I get that it can move you to tears. It has got me very close sometimes, just at this sort of just the screaming frustration of having MS, and sometimes people not seeming to get it. So yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
dissing the criers. I'm just trying to use the whole sort of thing of, you are essentially, to a certain extent, being an actor, and if you want to get the
Mhm.
most out of it, be, as we say, a smooth talking bar steward, and
Mhm.
get the most out of it, because it's easier to help somebody that you like. End of story. And
Absolutely.
I don't care what anybody says, it's just much easier. So I was just looking at a couple of the notes. So we've covered off the fact that there are people too. Um, yeah, they have this whole theoretical thing, yes, but life interferes for them as well as you,
Mhm.
and if they may be having the worst day in Christendom, but they've come to work and it happens to be your appointment day, and that sucks. But you got to just try and take a long view. And also, they're going to be doing their level best not to let it affect them. But if your partner's just walked out on you after 20 years, or your favorite pet's been run over or something, it's going to be in your head. So you have to
Mhm.
give them a little bit. I'd say cut them a break, but that's not an excuse for somebody to misbehave, but cut them a break and realize that they're human too. And that will come across, because that's just compassion, you know. And I know we're saying a lot, Rebecca. It feels very lectury, certainly for me, that you've just been newly diagnosed and your head's a whirlwind. But all I'm saying is it's almost life skills about having to
Mhm.
get the most out of somebody. And if you haven't had to do that, you know, just remember that it's a long-term relationship. So you might not get it right the first, second, third, fourth time, but work towards improving it is all I'd say.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, just put on your own oxygen mask first. Do whatever you need to do for yourself, um, to ensure that you can get as much as you need to out of your appointments.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just reflecting, because I've been on the other side where you're sort of socialized, nothing to do with MS or anything, but I never
Mhm.
used to sell MS drugs, but you'd hear doctors and it would just be, they're people, and the only patients they ever talk about are the standout ones, for not generally, did you hear what he had on his x-ray because he was hoovering naked and fell on something, not those, but well, the A&E doctors have them, but no, but the
Oh
ones that
boy.
stand out are the ones that are just like, have you met Mrs. Miggins? Oh yeah, so have I. Oh, good grief. Did she? It's like, yeah. And you're thinking, wow, Mrs. Miggins, you haven't done yourself the world of favors, because Mrs. Miggins has been very much overly Mrs. Miggins focused.
Mhm.
So
So take take all your Mrs. Migginsy nature, give that to a therapist or a friend or a partner or somebody else, and try to leave it behind and bring whatever the opposite of the Mrs. Miggins patient persona to your appointments as best you can.
and here's the question to ask yourself about your doctor. Are they trying to make my MS the least part of my life possible? Because if you don't feel that you can answer that about your doctor, that that's their view on you, back to Rebecca's thing, change doctors. They may be a lovely person who loves flowers and cats and all these kind of other things, but if they're not looking at you with that view, yeah, change doctors. Find one that does want to make MS the least part of your life as possible.
I I think we nailed it, Dom.
Oh, aren't we awesome?
Five.
Yeah, high five. Yeah, all right, there you go. So it's a, hey everybody, I hope you found this useful and not too stupid, and worked very hard not to be offensive. But anyway, you'll be seeing more of Rebecca because she's now turning into an official co-collaborator, but I will send her a contract soon, which explains about the fact that it's gratis. Yeah, I know. But hey guys, have a good time. Like I said, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions, we'll try and answer them, sometimes more sensibly than others. And if we can't answer them, you've seen some of the videos, I'll go and ask an expert. All right, take care. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Bye all.